How's it going, everyone? Here I am to once again talk about live service gaming. And look, if you've been following this channel for a while, you probably know some of the key points that I'm going to reiterate in this video, so, expect some rambling. But I find this rather interesting. On Video Games Chronicle, they noted as part of a new survey carried out by game developers, 600 developers were interviewed between the months of February and March and asked a number of questions about business models and monetization in video games. Before we continue, this has been a topic we've been talking about, I feel like, for over a year or two on this channel. And really, if you go back to even I want to say 2018, like I vividly remember talking about Shadow of the Tomb Raider when that game was coming out. I think it was 2018, 2019, around that range. SOTR was coming out and Square Enix had illustrated their 7-month monetization plan for that game and how they were going to roll out DLC. And I was like, bro, what is going on with this game? A 7-month monetization plan for what is a single-player game. It was just wild to me. But nevertheless, this has been a topic that we've certainly been discussing more about over the last year with the explosion of live service games and, this predominantly being covering a lot of PlayStation content. When PlayStation went down the live service rabbit hole, and we know that they put a pause on a lot of development of other titles to focus on live service, obviously the discussion was going to ramp up, and it's something I've been talking about for quite a while, but nonetheless, monetization in video games, and also with recent stuff like Star Wars Outlaws and whatnot, it's going to be something I think we're going to talk about all year long, and finally it's nice to see a high level of pushback. But to continue, participants were asked about how concerned they were about the sustainability of live service business models commonly being used today. Of those asked, 39% of those people were somewhat concerned, while a further 31% said that they were very concerned. A quarter said they weren't concerned, while the remaining 4% didn't know. Live service games are obviously titles that are monetized beyond the initial game with stuff like content updates and selling you in-game content such as XP boosts, time savers, cosmetics, sometimes content within the game as well, battle passes, so on and so forth. And I know when you guys watch our videos and how I talk about live service games, sometimes you guys might think that I am completely crapping on the business model in totality, that I hate live service games, so on and so forth. That is not the case whatsoever. I don't hate live service games. I think live service games very much have a market within the gaming ecosystem, but as we've seen over the last few years, with the explosion of games like Fortnite, MMOs have always been around. Those are essentially live service games. Call of Duty has gone more of the live servicey route. There have been so many games that have been able to make an absurd, a ridiculous amount of money by adopting a live service model. Now, the thing about the aforementioned games, Fortnite, Final Fantasy XIV, Call of Duty, those are all multiplayer games. And live service, that model generally works better with games that are multiplayer, and predominantly multiplayer with this ever-evolving multiplayer ecosystem. But obviously, that live service model has bled into single-player games as well. Ubisoft is notorious for this, with Assassin's Creed, Star Wars Outlaws looking to have some live servicey models with it as well, buyable cosmetics, etc., etc. And you can say that that's like halfway to the live service model, whereas there are games that are developed from the ground up to be live service games, and it's obvious to see why the higher-ups at PlayStation, why the higher-ups at Warner Brothers, why the higher-ups at Ubisoft look at the success level of a Fortnite, of a Call of Duty going these live service routes, and all of these live service games that they put the initial development in, and they release a game, and then they can monetize it for years and years and years. Suddenly, those games of Fortnite can draw $300-400 from a single consumer, whereas a standard $70 game release is only drawing in $70 unless you monetize it beyond its initial release. And we've been seeing that more and more, with this monetization practice bleeding into games that otherwise in the past may have not had that, and studios in the past that wouldn't have employed this type of model. A lot of Ubisoft titles. Most recently, we can look at a Suicide Squad. Now, obviously, when the higher-ups look at the gravy train that is possible with the elite of the elite live service titles, they are just salivating at the idea that we could have a piece of that pie. But getting a piece of that pie within the live service model is so difficult because, as I've mentioned in previous videos, it's a different ball game when you're talking about live service versus that standard $70 to play. Live service lives and dies by player investment. That's why you have things like FOMO with battle passes, timed battle passes, to keep you engaged into the game and investing time and more money, ultimately more money into that game, so you will have an attachment to that set game and you will spend more and more money. Well, what's the issue with that? Time is the most finite quantity that we have, and if you are juggling 1 or 2 live service games, that's probably your cap. How many people do you know that are juggling League of Legends, Final Fantasy XIV, and let's throw in a Diablo 4 in there all at the same time? Not too many people are juggling all of those games. Generally speaking, people have picked and chosen their live service games that they're playing. Sometimes they'll jump around, but it's way different than, let's say, a Spider-Man 2 coming out, it being a $70 game. And how much time are you spending with Spider-Man 2? Yeah, you're spending your $70 on it, but when that game came out, everybody that I talked to was finishing that game within like a weekend, a week. At most, you're getting a month of playtime out of it. Yeah, maybe you'll revisit the game, but ultimately, you'll shift around and you'll jump into other games, and that's why it's so sad when a Warner Brothers goes to a Rocksteady, and this is just my speculation on how things turned out. Warner Brothers goes to Rocksteady, and they're like, okay, you guys need to monetize your games beyond the initial release. You guys need to add these live service games, and these are successful studios, and PlayStation did it with their studios as well. These are successful studios that did so much great work, and they're kind of betraying what brought them to the dance. Maybe not of their own volition, maybe some of them want to do it, I don't know, but I do know this. Rocksteady, what brought them to the dance was the Batman Arkham games, and yeah, the Batman Arkham games had some DLC, but it wasn't crazy monetized like Suicide Squad is attempting to be with battle passes and things of that nature. They're betraying what brought them to the dance. I don't want to make it seem like it's this crazy thing, oh my god, they're betraying their humanity for live service. Like, it's not that serious, but again, these are studios that were established in doing so much high quality work, and then it really, to me, feels like the publisher came into the fold, and I could understand why David Zaslav, he's focused on making the most amount of money possible, and he doesn't look at video games as, look at the art form of video games, look at how good these games are. Nah, bro, he's looking at dollar signs, and what screams dollar signs to a David Zaslav? Do you think it's selling Hogwarts Legacy at 60, 70 bucks, or do you think for the next Hogwarts Legacy game, he's thinking, we gotta monetize those 22 million copies we sold? What are we doing, bros? We sold this game for $70, $80 for the deluxe edition. We should be getting even more money out of those people by in-game microtransactions, by live service elements. That's what I would have to think, and David Zaslav is thinking, who probably, I don't know if David Zaslav is a gamer. I would assume he's not, and you go on David Zaslav's Wikipedia page, and when one of the first paragraphs said that he's been, under fire for various things he's done with Warner Bros., whatever, maybe, I'm sure the dude's cool, I'm sure he's got some great ideas, but it's not just David Zaslav. He's just the one that really always comes to my mind because he has, like, literal quotes about shifting Warner Brother Games' focus, so I find that always an easy one to go back to, but it's with PlayStation as well. Now, the thing with PlayStation is that a lot of the games they were working on to release as live service products may never even see the light of day, and it does seem like they are kind of shifting back to what we love PlayStation for, the first party titles as far as single player big budget experiences. And again, I'm all for multiplayer games. You drop me a Killzone 2 remaster and you charge $50 for it, I'll probably buy it because I loved Killzone 2, but Killzone 2 wasn't this game that was monetized to the nth degree. If they decided to do a live service Killzone, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I'd still probably give it a chance, but again, that's something we could talk about down the line. But we also saw with PlayStation, they published Helldivers 2. That's a live service game, and that's a successful game. But here's the difference with a Helldivers 2 and a Suicide Squad. Arrowhead did not betray the essence of what Arrowhead is. Helldivers 2 still screams Arrowhead. It's still everything that made Arrowhead Arrowhead with Helldivers 1. Obviously, Helldivers 2 a little bit different in terms of it being this big third-person title, but you get the idea. The insanity, the chaos, all of those elements are still there. They treated the consumer with respect, and yes, it does have live service elements, it does have monetization, but it was a budget title, $40 for the base game, $60 for the deluxe edition. edition, whereas Suicide Squad was $70 for the base game, $100 for the deluxe edition, and monetized beyond that as well. So, it's a case-by-case basis when we're assessing live service games, but I think every game going down this route, yes, some games are gonna find success. Some games are piggybacking off of an IP, like Assassin's Creed, and they can monetize the game, sell you cosmetics, sell you double XP boosts, and you'll be, there are gonna be people buying it. I have a buddy that bought the double XP boost in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I was sick to my stomach once I learned that, but, you know, there are people that are gonna buy it. And even if it's only 500,000 people of however many million copies of Assassin's Creed Odyssey was sold, a $10 double XP boost bought by 500,000 people? Do some quick math. Do you guys think it took $5 million to implement double XP into Assassin's Creed Odyssey? You guys can come to a conclusion on that. I don't think I gotta spell it out for you, but it is something that I think some developers are gonna push a little bit too far, and it's gonna come to bite them in the ass, and we've already seen that with Suicide Squad, and I think developers are fully aware. I think when there are developers that, you know, a publisher comes to them and they're like, alright guys, you gotta live service your next game, you gotta add extra monetization aspects, they're like, alright, we'll do it, you're funding the game, but it's gotta be a little bit of an offset from what they were used to working with, and I know Rocksteady isn't the Rocksteady we know of as far as who's involved with that studio, but still, I would imagine there are some developers that were sustained between the development of Batman Arkham and Suicide Squad, and you would have to think that was a bit of a shift for them to work on a new style of game. And I don't know if you strip away all of Suicide Squad becoming live service, if that game was would have been good, or, you know, the game is whatever. Like I say, pick it up for less than $5 and you'll have a fine time with it, but you know, it's something we'll never know, but I do know that the live service elements certainly don't help. But it's something that's certainly going to be more and more of a discussion this year and next year, and I am interested. You know, Helldivers 2 was a huge success for PlayStation, but how's the Concords of the world gonna do? How's Fair Game gonna do? Is Last of Us ever gonna come out? Probably not, but Horizon, that multiplayer project, I would imagine at some point is gonna come out, and I would imagine those announcements have to be coming soon, but that's why you're seeing a lackluster release from Sony as far as the release calendar in 2023. In 2024, they got some titles secured like Rise of the Ronin, and as well as Stellar Blade from third-party developers, but from first-party, it is a barren wasteland. 2024 has to be the weakest first-party year that I've seen from Sony, quite possibly in 15 years. Like, I could go back to 2009, and then onward, every year, you would have a couple of big first-party PlayStation titles. This year, literally zero, so take that for what it's worth. But that'll do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Always interested to hear your guys' thoughts on live service, and I know it's a lot of reiteration of stuff I've been saying, but I feel like it's important to talk about it, as it's such a big aspect in gaming today. But again, that'll do it for me. Your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.